Welcome to the deep dive. Ever feel like you've just sort of plateaued, like your skills or talents have hit a wall?
Hmm.
Well, today we're going to really crack that open. We're exploring how our deepest beliefs about our abilities can be, well, either a springboard or a serious anchor.
Yeah, we're talking about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. It's a really powerful concept.
Absolutely. And we've sifted through quite a bit of material for you. We've got psychology articles, stuff on business applications, personal growth.
Right, including the foundational work by Carol Dweck, of course, plus a handy video script that boils it down. Think of us as your mindset navigators for this session.
Exactly. And our mission here isn't just to define terms. You want to pull out the really practical, usable stuff.
Yeah, the goal is that by the end, you'll have a much better handle on how your own mindset might be playing out in your life.
And crucially, how you can maybe start shifting towards that more empowering, growth-oriented perspective.
Definitely. So maybe a good place to start is that old question, where do our abilities even come from? Nature, nurture.
Right, the classic debate. Are we just born good at things, or do we learn everything?
Well, most psychologists today really lean towards an interactionist view. It's not one or the other.
Okay, so it's a mix.
Exactly. It's the interplay. Your genetics, your innate predispositions, that's the nature part. But then your environment, your experiences, your learning, the nurture, shapes how those predispositions develop.
So like genes might give you a starting point, but experience really runs with it.
Precisely. Nature gives you the seeds, maybe, but nurture is the soil, the rain, the sun. It determines how, or even if, those seeds flourish.
Got it. So our abilities aren't necessarily carved in stone from day one.
Not at all. And that understanding is key. It leads us right into the main topic, the fixed mindset.
Okay. So in a nutshell, what is a fixed mindset?
Well, imagine believing your core qualities, your intelligence, your talents are just fixed traits. Like you're dealt a hand of cards, and that's it. That's the fixed mindset.
Right. And that sounds limiting.
It often is.
Yeah.
Because if you believe things are fixed, failure becomes incredibly threatening. A mistake isn't just a mistake. It feels like proof you're fundamentally lacking.
Okay, so it's not I failed, it's I am a failure.
You got it. It confirms that underlying fear. See, I wasn't smart enough, wasn't talented enough.
And our sources gave some pretty clear examples of this, didn't they?
Oh yeah, like the student who hits a tough math problem and just decides, nope, I'm not a math person. End of story.
Or at work, maybe someone who always ducks the challenging projects.
Exactly. Because they're terrified of looking incompetent if they don't know something immediately. Or even just labeling yourself, I'm an introvert, and using that as a reason to avoid social growth.
It's like the focus shifts from learning to just looking smart or capable.
Precisely. It's about proving the fixed talent you supposedly have rather than developing anything new. Admitting struggle feels like admitting a defect.
So what are some of those telltale signs? How might you spot a fixed mindset in action, maybe in yourself or others?
Well, a big one is avoiding challenges. Sticking to what you know you're good at.
Make sense? Less risk of failure.
Right. Also, getting defensive about feedback. If someone offers constructive criticism, it feels like a personal attack, not helpful information.
Okay.
Feeling threatened by other people's success is another one, like their success somehow diminishes you.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And maybe the most counterintuitive one, believing effort is kind of pointless or even bad. The thinking goes, if I were really talented, this should be easy. So having to try hard is almost embarrassing.
Wow. Okay, that paints a really clear picture. So let's flip the coin. What's the growth mindset all about?
The growth mindset is basically the opposite belief. It's the understanding that your abilities, your intelligence, they aren't fixed. They can be developed.
Developed how?
Through dedication, effort, good strategies, learning from mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
The focus shifts entirely. It's not about proving you're smart. It's about getting smarter.
Like intelligence is a muscle you can build.
Exactly like that. It's something you can cultivate.
And we saw examples of this too, right? The student struggling with math.
Yeah, with a growth mindset, they don't just give up. They think, okay, this is hard. What strategy am I missing? Who can I ask for help? They believe they can figure it out.
And the employee facing a new task
Sees it as a chance to learn something new, to expand their skills, even if it's uncomfortable at first. It's an opportunity, not a threat.
Even the self-proclaimed introvert example.
Right. They might still find big parties draining, perhaps, but they believe they can learn and improve their communication skills. They don't see introvert as a life sentence limiting their social abilities.
So the focus is always on potential. on the journey.
Yes, exactly. It's about the process of getting better, the potential for development, not just the current snapshot of ability. It's like seeing intelligence as a garden to tend, not a locked room.
So what are the key traits then? What does a growth mindset look like?
You'll often see flexibility, an openness to new information and changing strategies, a real willingness to embrace challenges, seeing them as essential for growth.
Okay.
A fundamental belief in the power and necessity of effort. Learning from criticism, seeing feedback as valuable data, not judgment.
Uh-huh.
And interestingly, often being inspired by other success, not threatened by it. Seeing it as proof of what's possible through dedication.
This difference in how failure is perceived seems absolutely huge. Let's dig into that a bit more.
It really is a critical difference. For the fixed mindset, as we said, failure can be devastating. It's seen as that final verdict on your limited ability.
Leading to negative self-talk.
Definitely. And that shift one source mentioned, from failure as an event, I failed at this task, to failure as an identity, I am a failure. That's really damaging.
Whereas the growth mindset views failure totally differently.
Completely. It's reframed. It's information. It's a learning opportunity. Okay, that didn't work. Why? What can I try next time?
So it's not a reflection of your worth.
Not at all. It's just feedback. Invaluable feedback, actually, that helps you adjust and move forward. It's data, not a definition.
And what about effort? We touched on this, but the contrast is stark.
It really is. In the fixed mindset, needing to exert effort often feels like evidence you lack talent. If I were truly gifted, I wouldn't have to try so hard.
So effort is almost shameful.
In a way, yes, or at least it signals you're not one of the naturals, so you might avoid things that require too much visible effort.
Which is so backward when you think about actual achievement.
Exactly, because the growth mindset sees effort as the path to mastery. It's essential. Even geniuses put in incredible amounts of focused effort.
So challenges aren't avoided, they're welcomed.
Actively sought out, often, because that's where the learning happens. That's how skills are built. Effort is the engine of growth.
Now, one article tackled some common myths about growth mindset. I think that's important.
Yeah, really useful clarification. Myth 1. Thinking growth mindset just means being open-minded or flexible.
And that's not quite it.
It's part of it, maybe, but not the whole picture. Growth mindset specifically includes the belief that abilities can be developed and actively embracing challenges to do so. It's more active than just being open.
Okay. What's another myth?
That it's easy, like you just decide, okay, I have a growth mindset now, and boom, you're done.
Right. Like flipping a switch.
Exactly. But it's not like that. It actually takes ongoing practice, self-reflection, noticing when you slip into fixed thinking. It's a continuous process.
And the idea that effort alone is enough if you just try hard with a growth mindset.
Myth 3, yeah. Effort is crucial, but it's not magic. You also need effective strategies, maybe access to resources or good feedback. Trying hard at the wrong approach won't automatically lead to success.
Makes sense. And the last one, that a growth mindset guarantees success.
Also a myth. It definitely helps you learn from setbacks and persist longer, which increases your chances of success. But it doesn't make success inevitable. It's about potential and resilience, not guarantees.
And a really crucial point made was that it's not binary. You're not 100% fixed or 100% growth all the time.
Absolutely vital. It's a spectrum.
Yeah.
You might have a growth mindset about, say, learning a new language, but a really fixed mindset about your artistic ability.
So you can be different in different areas.
Totally. The key is recognizing those areas where fixed thinking pops up. Awareness is the first step.
The sources also gave examples of typical fixed versus growth statements. Fixed might sound like
Things like, I'm just not good at this. I stick to what I know. There's no point trying if I might fail. Or even, my potential is pretty much determined.
Okay, that belief in inherent limits really comes through.
It does.
And growth mindset statements.
More like, I like to try new things, even if they're hard. Mistakes help me learn. I believe my effort and attitude make a difference. I can learn anything I want to. It's about possibility and development.
Let's just quickly revisit setbacks one more time. Fixed mindset sees them as
Discouraging. Proof of limitation can lead to giving up, maybe blaming others or circumstances.
Yeah. Growth mindset sees setbacks as
Motivating, often. A wake-up call. Okay, need to try harder or smarter. A prompt to dig in, not bail out.
This is all incredibly insightful. So the big question, how do we actually do this? How do we cultivate more of a growth mindset?
Okay, practical steps. One article laid out 3 simple ones. Step 1, acknowledge your weaknesses.
Sounds a bit negative.
Actually, no, it's about honesty. If you know where you're weaker, you know where the opportunities for growth are. It lets you set realistic goals for improvement.
Okay. So acknowledging isn't accepting limitation, it's identifying a starting point for growth. Got it. Step 2.
Understand what works best for you in terms of learning. Find the environment, the methods that you actually enjoy or that click for you. Prioritize the process of learning over just, ticking a box or hitting a deadline.
So becoming more self-aware about your own learning style makes sense.
Wow.
And step 3.
Focus on the process and on your journey. Try to tune out the noise of comparing yourself to others or worrying what they think. Getting too hung up on the end result can actually interfere with the in-the-moment learning needed for growth.
Right. Focus on your own progress, not just the finish line or other people's races. Good advice.
Yeah.
Now, what about in a team setting? How can managers help foster this?
Oh, huge impact there. Creating psychological safety is number one. People need to feel safe to make mistakes, ask questions, try things without fear of blame.
So mistakes are learning opportunities, not failures to be punished.
Exactly. Encouraging open communication. And, importantly, praising the process, the effort, the progress, not just the final perfect outcome, even small steps forward.
Recognizing the journey.
Yes. And managers can also benefit from, paying attention, listening to the language people use, noticing behaviors. Are they leaning fixed or growth? That helps tailor feedback and support.
One source offered affirmations too, which can be a simple tool. Can you share a couple?
Sure. Things like, challenges are opportunities for growth, and I embrace them enthusiastically.
Okay, that's proactive.
Or, I understand that growth requires patience, and I am committed to the journey.
Acknowledging it takes time.
And maybe, I am capable of learning and mastering anything I set my mind to. Or even just, my potential for growth and change is limitless.
Powerful statements to internalize. And the video script had some similar takeaways, right?
Yeah, it boiled it down nicely. Embrace challenges. See effort as the path. Learn from criticism. Celebrate progress, not just perfection. Very action-oriented.
It also suggested a growth journal.
Yes,
Yeah.
I like that idea. Write down something you're avoiding because you think you can't do it, and reframe it with a growth perspective.
Okay.
And for a week, maybe track one challenge you took on each day and one thing you learned. Simple, but could be really revealing.
And the growth buddy idea.
Also good. Someone you can share the struggles and the wins with. Accountability and support.
Really practical stuff. Okay, let's zoom out again. What about the impact of these mindsets on whole organizations?
This is where it gets really significant. One article used the Enron collapse as a kind of case study in fixed mindset culture.
How so?
Well, the leadership fostered this intense pressure to appear brilliant, always right, admitting mistakes, showing vulnerability that was seen as weakness. It created a really toxic competitive environment.
So people hid problems.
Exactly. Lack of transparency, fear of failure ruled, genuine learning, honest feedback. They just couldn't thrive in that kind of atmosphere.
That's a sobering example. What are some general negative consequences in companies dominated by fixed mindsets?
You tend to see less innovation because people are afraid to risk failure. Accountability suffers. Trust erodes. People avoid stretching assignments, so talent stagnates.
And that view of effort being negative.
Right. It can lead to valuing looking good over doing good work. Maybe more internal politics, people focused on their own image rather than the team or company goals.
And the flip side, when organizations cultivate a growth mindset,
It's transformative. Leaders who believe in development foster trust. They create that psychological safety we talked about. People feel empowered to take smart risks, learn from errors, speak up.
which leads to
More innovation, better problem solving, stronger collaboration, a more resilient, adaptable, and ultimately more successful organization. Healthier, too.
It really highlights how foundational this is. It's not just personal development fluff. It impacts the bottom line and the work environment profoundly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the individual and the workplace. How do we actually shift things?
Right. What's the call to action?
It starts with reflection, really. Honest self-assessment. Ask yourself, where do I lean towards fixed thinking? What situations trigger that avoidance or fear of failure in me?
Okay, identify your own patterns.
Yeah. And once you see them, you can start consciously challenging those thoughts. Experiment with growth-oriented responses instead.
Yeah.
And if you're in a team or organization, look around. What's the culture like? Does it reward learning or just results? Does it punish mistakes?
And maybe start conversations about it.
Definitely. How can we collectively foster more safety, more focus on learning and development? It can start small.
So wrapping up our deep dive then, what's the main thing we want people to take away?
I think the core message is just how powerful your beliefs about your own abilities really are. They aren't set in stone.
They're malleable.
Exactly. And they profoundly shape your potential, your achievements, even how fulfilling your life feels.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on.
Go for it.
Think about people you admire who seem effortlessly talented. Often, if you dig deeper, you find they have an incredible work ethic, a history of overcoming challenges, a real dedication to learning hallmarks of a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm. Talent loves effort.
Right. So maybe, just maybe, the limits you perceive in yourself right now are less about your actual fixed capacity and more about the beliefs you're currently holding.
It's a powerful reframe.
So the challenge is this. Pick one area, just one, where you suspect you've got a fixed mindset lurking, and for the next week, consciously try approaching it with a growth mindset. See what happens.
You might just surprise yourself.